Item: SCP-1708. Code Name: The Hollowed. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-1708 is located at Containment Site in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. SCP-1708 should be contained within a chamber lined with padded material. All requests for communication must be approved by at least two Level 3 personnel. Description: SCP-1708 is an entity of unknown origin, measuring 3.7 meters in height and weighing approximately 25 kilograms. The subject is bipedal with 14 thin limbs, 2 located at the bottom, each splitting into 2 tentacle-like appendages, 2 located at the upper end of the torso ending in points, and 4 protruding from the back between the shoulder blades. These 4 limbs appear to have suffered heavy burn damage, with no observable signs of healing. The remaining 6 limbs are hollow appendages with numerous orifices throughout located on the upper chest, 3 down in a line in rows of 2. Medical analysis indicates that these limbs are attached to the subject's respiratory system and are used primarily for communication purposes. SCP-1708's flesh is a pale, metallic color and is composed of a combination of alkaline metals. SCP-1708 exhibits muscular strength and speed that is far inferior to that of an average human's. This weakness results in a distinct muscle twitch whilst the subject makes gross motions, giving it a stride of sharp, sporadic movements. The head of SCP-1708 is oval in shape and devoid of features, excluding 4 holes in the subject's face, located on the upper half of the cranial area forming the shape of a rhombus. Approximately 2 centimeters beneath these holes is a black, glass-like membrane. SCP-1708 is capable of understanding orders given to it. However, SCP-1708 does not seem to be capable of communicating using any known language and does not, under most circumstances, respond to external stimuli of any other kind. SCP-1708 is frequently observed sitting in a crouched position in the center of its cell. The subject moves only when it is prompted to move by Foundation personnel, although does so cooperatively. In the presence of religious artifacts, ornaments or textiles, SCP-1708 enters a state of confusion, causing it to be less cooperative and more prone to self-harm. Sedatives do not have an effect on this behavior, therefore physical restraints may be used during testing. Placing the subject under emotional distress results in the subject emitting high-pitched screeching noises. When exposed to its own reflection, for example, the subject begins to emit sounds that have been observed to exceed a volume of 110 dB. See Test Log 1708-C. The subject shows an apparent affinity for music and can be found playing the same musical number at almost all times while undisturbed in containment. The subject uses the 6 frontal limbs to make these musical sounds, blowing air through its front limbs causing its own bodily fibers to vibrate, creating a reverberated humming sound, whilst also plucking at metallic strings attached to its chest. See audio file 1708-1. As of SCP-1708 has made attempts at its own life. Foundation personnel are required to keep any weaponry off-site at all times in order to prevent the loss of potentially critical data. Sharp objects are to be contained in locked storage. Addendum 1708-A. Notes on recovery. The Foundation took an interest in SCP-1708 after reports of unidentified flying object activity in Brazil. Reports described a large, reflective entity with wing-like appendages falling through the sky at approximately kms before crashing into an uninhabited building. An unidentified reflective substance was located on site, but the Foundation did not find anything else of interest and abandoned the project. Dr., whom had taken an express interest in the project, recovered evidence that Horizon Initiative forces had an anomalous entity under their possession somewhere in Brazil. A squad composed of six Foundation agents were sent to investigate, and on it was discovered that numerous members of Project Malleus were in transit with the anomalous entity in containment. Stealth operations and espionage took place between Foundation and Horizon Initiative forces for weeks before Foundation forces located and intercepted the Project Malleus cargo on Comma, resulting in armed combat lasting approximately hours. Foundation forces recovered the anomalous entity after facing great resistance and suffering deaths and casualties. The subject was placed in containment shortly thereafter. Addendum 1708C. Test Log 1708A. Testing Procedures. The subject was placed in a 3 meter x 5 meters cell composed of reinforced steel and lined with mirrors, for increasing amounts of time, in order to observe the subject's response. Test 1708A1. Date. Time frame. Subject was contained in cell for 30 seconds. Results. Subject began emitting high-pitched sounds at approximately 60 dB. Subject was removed without resistance. Subject showed signs of distress. Test 1708A2. Date. Time frame. Subject was contained in cell for 5 minutes. Results. Subject began emitting high-pitched sounds at approximately 90 dB. Subject was removed without resistance. Subject was deemed unconscious shortly after removal. Test 1708A3. Date. Time frame. Subject was contained in cell for 15 minutes. Results. Subject began emitting high-pitched sounds at approximately 120 dB after 10 minutes in containment. A quiet humming noise was observed emitting from the entity's chest for the remaining 5 minutes. Subject was removed with little resistance. Subject was deemed unconscious shortly after removal. Test 1708A4. Date. Time frame. Subject was contained in cell for 1 hour. Results. Subject began emitting high-pitched sounds at approximately 120 dB after 10 minutes in containment. A quiet humming noise was observed emitting from the entity's chest for another 10 minutes, before returning to a high-pitched sound emitted at approximately dB. This resulted in the destruction of the chamber. Subject was found unconscious within the remains of the mirrored chamber shortly thereafter. Test 1708A5. Date. Time frame. Subject was contained in cell for 6 hours. Additional information. Chamber was replaced by a 3 meter by 5 meters cell composed of Class 1 reinforced alloy located meters within the Rocky Mountains at research site. Results. Subject began emitting high-pitched sounds at approximately 120 dB after 10 minutes in containment. A quiet humming noise was observed emitting from the entity's chest for another 10 minutes, before returning to a high-pitched sound emitted at approximately dB. A quiet humming noise was, again, observed emitting from the entity's chest for another 10 minutes. Electrical surges occurred, and the chamber began showing signs of structural failure. The alloys began to vibrate and emit sounds at approximately dB before collapsing in on the subject, conforming to the shape of its body. After approximately 30 seconds the alloys fell to the ground, and the subject collapsed. The subject was in a comatose state for nearly 3 weeks after this event. Further testing of SCP-1708 is not authorized. Research into the subject's anatomy after Test 1708A5 showed signs at an attempt to redacted. See Wiki for full access to Addendum 1708F. Audio file 1708-1.